Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
But who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And what he do?
And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. First of all, what do you think of that intro? Pretty awesome, right? We owe that to Jaylap from CRAM. So we'll put a little link so you can kind of check them out. They're really awesome. Anyway, today we are reacting to L.A. Capone's Play for Keeps. L.A. Capone is Lawrence Anderson out of Chicago. He was a black disciple. He was murdered at 17 years old in Chicago, coming out of a studio in 2013. Only 17. Very, very sad. He was part of the crew with Chief Keef and some other, and Lil Durk. So we're going to play a little bit of it, stop it, and kind of do our thing. First of all, I just think it's remarkable when you look at how young these guys are. They're just so young. But in this particular area, they grow up immediately. And one of the things about the gangs in this area, they like to get youngsters, like 10, 11, 12, 13, to do their killing for them because they're juveniles.
We play for keeps. The whole hood know me. No new niggas, they ain't on the block, making guap trying to feed the team. Got a motherfucker down, no sir. Big 30 hanging out, no.
All right, he's talking about no new fellas. They ain't hanging on the block, making guap, trying to feed the team. In other words, they're not letting anybody in. It's a very closed group, and he's hanging out with a 30-round magazine hanging out of his pants. Steady running from the Jakes. It's like Jake from State Farm, your average white guy. That's what they call the cops. And this is almost prophetic, which just kind of is sad because he says he'd get crucified for his fellas. You'll never see one fuck with us, fuck them all. You know, and that's actually a really old philosophy. You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. You're never going to see one of us, you're going to see all of us.
The whole squad gon' get it. These niggas so phony though. They act like your homie though. They see some bands, but it ain't some mans. He just feel like Romeo.
So he says, these fellas are so phony though. They'll act like your homie though until they see bands. Bands is like usually $1,000 because you know when you get money from the bank, they wrap it in $1,000 increments. Generally speaking, if you get hundreds. He's saying basically that he's got some hangers on. They're acting phony just because he's got money.
Might think it's a concert and get beyond hurt cause we cop a hoe. Now roll that dope sick. On the block we smoke shit. And niggas die cause the cops come quick, motherfucker doctor shit.
You know, and this is a sad commentary, quite honestly, because he's saying that cops are coming faster than the ambulance does. And that is probably something that is endemic in Chicago, that there's probably places that the ambulances won't even go.
It's one thing I never did, and that's love a bitch, because I'm drilling sick. I only love my...
And this is one thing that really bothers me about this video, especially knowing that he was only 17 when he was murdered. That's one thing I never did, and that's love a bitch. Because I'm drilling shit, I only love my clique. In other words, he's not going to get bogged down by a relationship with a woman because his loyalty is to his crew. And look where that got him. It's so sad.
OG told me to slow down. I see an op and he get blown down. Take him down, then smoke his whole pound. They deep on, empty the round. Get caught, but I won't make it sound.
Remember what we've said before? Take him down, he'll smoke his whole pound. That is a reference to once they shoot somebody, they smoke them up in their dishonor.
But it's dead cause I'm shooting out of town. Still green and white and no brown. I'm finna bust a sale right now. These niggas ain't really in the
We sell green and white but no brown. You know what that means. Marijuana, cocaine, but no heroin. And since 2013, however, heroin has made an incredible resurgence on the market.
The folks going there for the kill. They nights in the creep with the steel. Sandale how the hot shit feel.
And see what I said earlier about them using juveniles for their murder? Well, he says little folks going right for the kill. Late night trying to creep with the steel. In other words, they're using young people because they are minors. And because they're minors, if they're young enough, they can't be tried as adults. And then we look at what he's talking about here, Shondale, how that hot shit feel. In other words, he's kind of being incredibly callous and cold about Shondale Tuca, who got killed when he was 15. And that's where we get Tucaville from.
Thanks, boy, I'm too real. They say real niggas don't say they real well. Fuck nigga, I'm real. If we can't break bread, he fake. I had one more fuck on my plate. It was me and bro, we was in the store and both of us got 50 cent cakes.
So he said if you can't break bread, you're fake. In other words, sit down with me and break bread with me, have a meal with me. And I think it's kind of interesting that he kind of goes back to kind of probably a sweeter time when he was broke, and he had shared a 50-cent cake with his buddy, and he didn't care that he didn't have that much money, and he still shared anyway.
Bitch can't tell me she late. Condoms I use don't break. We at the starting point of this race. We gon' win, nigga. I can't wait. Taking off. Let's go.
Now in comes RondoNumbaNine. RondoNumbaNine got 39 years in 2014 for killing a rival gang member.
Rondo down with soul. GDK fucking breaking exposed. And a hood shot up with the pole. Just as you up and I can't go.
Okay. He talks about GDKs. GDK fuck a brick. In other words, GDKs are gangster disciple killers as opposed to gangster disciples. And gangster disciple killers are actually BDs. They're black disciples. Fuck a brick here is referring to FBG Duck's brother that was killed, and we talked about that in an earlier episode. In the hood strapped up with a bunch of poles. In the hood strapped up, poles are guns.
I can't go. 600 from a nigga D Rose. All these hoes gonna get too old. I ain't playing no lover games, doing lover games. Niggas get smoked. Yes, lot of shooters.
So here we have RondoNumbaNine talking about 600, probably the 600 block. Free my fella D Rose, who went to prison for murder, and all these hoes kind of getting too old. So as you get older, there's a wide variety of women that become attractive to you. So there is women are getting old. I ain't playing no lover games with them, lover gangs. Fellas getting smoked bowl. In other words, they're smoking up to the dead. A lot of shooters on my squad. And the thing that just saying he doesn't need a bodyguard, but look where he is. 39 years in prison at I think 18 years old. So he'll be 58 by the time he's done. That is a long time to just be brazen. And the thing about young guys like this is they don't see tomorrow. They don't see tomorrow as a possibility.
If you own a record, get robbed. Check on my neck, on nobody guard. These niggas be crazy. These niggas don't joke. These niggas think it's joke. Let me see an op, I'm broke.
It drives me nuts because I just want to take these guys aside before all this happens and talk to them. But you can't because it's already happened back in 2013. But he talks about these fellas don't tote. These fellas think it's a joke. And I'm using fellas, but you know what the word is. Let me see an op. I'm a blow. Grr. I mean, in other words, I'm going to shoot the op on sight. And that mentality is just a war mentality. It's just a tribal war mentality. And it winds up in two areas, either dead or in jail. And that's kind of the life of the street gangs.
A lot of this I changed, cause Rondo the middle of change. I still couldn't say I came, and I ain't gonna try to take my change. He blocked from my nigga M-Thing. Steve tried, that's my campaign. And I would never sprint that just.
He talks about free my fella M-Thing, Steve Drive, and Steve Drive is Little Steve, who was murdered in 2011. And M-Thing at the time was still in prison.
That just don't exist, cause that's been on my name. Yeah, I'm a shooter, bitch. Take 600 up the rules quick. Debbie Pops got raised by the block. I was trying to make it flip.
So, cause that blood on my name, yeah, I'm a shooter. I don't know if they used this in his trial or not, but they certainly could have. I'm a shooter, bitch. Take 600 up them Rugers quick. In other words, he's referring to a Ruger, which is a brand of firearm. Deadbeat Pops raised by the block. In other words, he has no problem taking action.
I was born torch. You know I rock, nigga. They know I rock, nigga. Oh, so I got 22 shots, nigga. I ain't know that's a rock, nigga. Niggas do all that talk. My niggas don't come from that gold.
Yeah. Says you fellas do all that talk. My fellas don't come from that cloth. Basically, what that means is you guys are snitches when we're coming after you, and my guys aren't like that. But I will tell you that in his trial, there were plenty of snitches.
I think it take that long. 600 bitch round the boat. Let's get it.
So what you have here is a very sad story. You got two guys, talented guys. You can tell they're talented. Their art is pretty good. But you've got two guys, one dead at 17 and another life lost by getting 39 years in prison. So this has been L.A. Capone, Criminal Lawyer Reacts, and it's play for keeps. And I just want to thank everybody who is listening, everybody who's subscribing. The Patreon is going strong. The Instagram is on fire, so keep following us on Instagram, and why don't you take a look at CRAM? They're pretty awesome. So thanks, and we'll see you next time.